Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly made a rare apology Monday for launching a strike earlier this month near Doha, Qatar. According to a report from Axios, President Trump hosted the trilateral call between the Israelis and the Qatari prime ministers, where Netanyahu did apologize for violating Qatari sovereignty, and he also expressed regret for killing a Qatari security officer in the strike. Netanyahu then also reportedly agreed to pay compensation to the family of that officer. Now, that apology also apparently was a key condition to resuming mediation with Hamas over a deal to potentially end the war and free the remaining hostages.
Now, that deal would allegedly include an international board of peace to govern and reconstruct the Gaza Strip, and leading the board will be President Trump. According to the 20-point plan released Monday by the White House, Trump would be the chair of the transitional body, which would oversee the framework and funding for redevelopment of the Gaza Strip until the Palestinian Authority has met certain conditions to assume governance. Here's President Trump on Monday.
My plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name. It'll be responsible for recruiting and training a new government that will be made up of Palestinians along with highly qualified experts from all around the world. Hamas and other terrorist factions will play no role in the board, but they'll play no role in the governance of Gaza at all, directly or indirectly.
Also on the proposed board, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair. A senior Hamas official said Monday that they were not involved in the drafting of this plan, nor were they given a copy. But Trump was insistent yesterday that if Hamas did not agree to this deal, the U.S. would support Israeli action.
Israel would have my full backing to finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas. But I hope that we're going to have a deal for peace. And if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
I mean, I simply don't know, but remain dubious of this proposition that Hamas is going to accept a deal in which they lose power, control over Gaza. I wish that they would accept such a deal. That would be great. We need, I support a separate Palestinian state, government, etc., that is not run by Hamas. The Palestinian Authority, though they have many defects themselves, are certainly preferable, and that is the best case scenario. That seems fine by me. I'm glad President Trump is trying to arrive at this end. I'm glad Israel is on board for that. It was obviously correct of Netanyahu to apologize to Qatar for what happened there. It shouldn't have happened in the first place, but after it's done, what can you do but apologize and hopefully never do it again, although I certainly wouldn't put it past them. The point is we certainly need peace, but is Hamas going to agree to a peace that they lose control of Gaza? I don't foresee them really doing that. They seem to have a elaborate capacity for the destruction of their own people, for the wholesale slaughter of the innocent people of Gaza. They don't care. So if they didn't care before, I don't know why they'd care. They don't even care as many of their own members are wiped off the earth. So I don't understand their motivation to just cling to power at all costs. It's a motivation of a terrorist group, not a state actor, because usually state actors eventually surrender to stave off total destruction or total destruction of their people. See Imperial Japan or whoever else, but that's not the case here.
I think the biggest thing that concerned me is when this transitional committee is led by President Trump, knowing that in the past few months, President Trump said some pretty unsavory remarks and even retweeted an AI video that showed like a Trump palace on the Gaza Strip. People condemned him for, and has mentioned in the Oval Office, like, oh yeah, the Gaza Strip should become like this beautiful piece of land, and like.
Yeah, well, he's backed away from the idea of.
Yeah, but he's overseeing it and saying like, yes, the Palestinians in this deal reportedly will get some type of authority over the space as long as Hamas is not involved. But Netanyahu has already said we do not want to fully recognize a Palestinian state. So it's contradictory, like you said, based on the history of the relationship, that at the end of the day, even if Hamas did agree to this and allowed some other body and Palestinian Authority to be put in place, agreed to never become or not have it written down that they would get statehood, because I think that seems
Right.
like the ultimate goal for the Palestinian people. Whether it is for Hamas, I don't know.
And according to the deal, the Palestinian people can come and go as they please, right? There's no, you have to leave the land. They should be able to, which is all good. They should stay there if they want. They should go elsewhere if they want. That's all fine. It's a good deal. I have no problem with the deal at all. I just don't think Hamas will accept it. They should.
Some of the realistic thing I think that is Trump's goal in this is having Israel have a better allyship with a lot of Middle Eastern countries. One of them specifically was Saudi Arabia. He talked about that is a goal, that there's a more, I guess, a flowing relationship between the two bodies. And Saudi Arabia is like, well, we need to see Palestinian statehood at the end of the day to make a two-state solution. And I don't know that that's going to be an agreement that everybody can come to the table with. So at the very least, I think if you wanted Hamas to accept the deal, even though it is a terrorist organization, perhaps they should have been in the conversation, or perhaps Middle Eastern countries should have talked to them more often, because it seems like they're like
Israel blew up the
laissez-faire.
negotiators.
Right, Israel blew in Qatar. I know,
Thanks
I
a lot for
understand.
that.
So now we're kind of at a standstill, and it's like, well, what does everybody want in this? Because the Middle Eastern countries are being suggested as places that, you know, people should flee from Gaza, and maybe they should be doing more to kind of negotiate this. So it sounds good on paper, like perhaps there's a step forward. And that video that the White House posted on their Instagram yesterday was very dramatic, with him walking around with Netanyahu. But it feels very for show. Like, why couldn't you leave with an agreement to stop at least the killing in the meantime, as you
Because
try to
Hamas
figure out the
hasn't
next
agreed to
step?
anything. They're not privy to these negotiations. They haven't. They said they hadn't even seen a copy of the agreement.
Well, I understand, but I mean, there's been conversations happening since Trump took office earlier this year. And so what is Hamas privy to? We're not privy to that information of what they're looking for. It seems like there's conflicting reports, and I'm not saying we should believe everything coming out of the Hamas official communications, but they've been saying, no, they didn't.
Well, they
come
want
up
an
with any
end to the
realistic
existence
terms.
of Israel. So
But that hasn't been written down on paper, end Israel, right? So that's not what I'm seeing.
That's in their motto.
My point is, we need to be part of the American public that's interested in actually funding the tax bill and saying they maybe don't want us sending money over to Israel, needs to be involved in this conversation about or have transparency at the very least about what is the disconnect. Why is it taking 9 months to talk about the same thing since Trump took office? And we have looked like we haven't gotten anywhere. And at the same time, a lot of people are pushing back on how much Israel is or isn't doing.
Yeah, domestically,
and we're not getting any further.
Domestically, Israel is losing a PR war. Support for Israel is tanking among young people of all political affiliations. On the Democratic side, there's just tremendous discord, a disappointment in Democratic leadership for not being tougher on Israel across the board. And then on the conservative side, young people on the right are manifestly skeptical, hostile, critical, even too critical, and in some ways critical. It's now extending to just Jewish people in general. This is a PR disaster on Israel's part. The wanton destruction, the images on social media of the people starving and dying. So maybe that is Hamas's strategy, to hold out until the U.S. opinion sours so drastically that the funding gets cut, and hoping that.
But even the overall U.S. opinion doesn't match with President Trump's opinion. He said this is the last deal, or Israel basically has carte blanche to do whatever they want. Kind of just.
Yeah, Trump. I mean,
we're going to support them.
Trump wants peace, but he supports Israel, and he's doesn't support Hamas, and wants them to all come to. I mean, he's a very rational actor in all of this. I agree with him, but it's a frustrating situation, and I would rather have us be less involved rather than more. Next up, the governor of Illinois had some harsh words for the Trump administration as it is sending National Guard troops to Chicago. More on that next. Don't go anywhere.